The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning here at 5 a.m. Thanks for waking up with us. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher.
Breaking overnight, 2 people were wounded in a shooting late last night in northeast Bakersfield. Police say emergency crews were called to the area of Panorama Park at Panorama Drive and River Boulevard around 11 p.m. One person was seriously hurt in the shooting. The other had minor wounds. No arrests have been made, and descriptions of possible suspects have not yet been made available.
No injuries were reported in a 2-vehicle rollover crash early this morning. According to the California Highway Patrol's traffic incident page, a white sedan versus a semi crash happened around 12:30 in the northbound lanes of the 99 near Whistler Road, just south of McFarland. CHP says both the sedan and semi rolled over onto the right-hand shoulder, with the semi and its 2 trailers lying on the side. The cause of the crash remains under investigation.
Officials at the Kern Valley State Prison are investigating the death of an inmate as a homicide. Officers say 50-year-old Alfredo Valenzuela was found unresponsive in his cell just after 2 a.m. on Saturday during a security check. He reportedly shares the cell with 36-year-old Noe Herrera. Alfredo died in the emergency treatment a half hour later. Valenzuela was serving life without parole for murder, burglary, and car theft. Herrera, his cellmate, is serving life with parole for murder and attempted murder. Officials removed Herrera from the cell. It is unclear how Valenzuela died.
Your time now is 5:04, and closing arguments are set to begin this morning in the trial of Matthew Queen, as both sides have now rested in the case. Queen is on trial for the murder of Micah Holsenbake, one of the so-called Bakersfield 3. Last week, Queen took the stand and told jurors his then-girlfriend, Bailey Despot, dropped a 40-pound dumbbell on Holsenbake's head, and that he, Queen, helped dismember the body to cover up the death. After 2 days of postponements, the trial resumed Thursday, with Queen testifying he went around town with police, showing them 5 different locations where he buried pieces of Holsenbake's body. Queen is facing 35 charges total, including allegations of kidnapping and making illegal weapons.
In your 17 Court Watch this morning, closing arguments are also set to begin in the trial of a man accused of killing his daughter-in-law for allegedly dishonoring him. Last week, the defense called its first witnesses in the trial of 67-year-old Jagjit Singh, the man charged with murder in the shooting death of his daughter-in-law, Sumandeep Kaur Kuner, after she admitted to having an affair and threatened to leave the family. Dr. Laljeet Sindhu, a psychologist and Punjabi cultural expert, took the stand in an effort to explain how gravely Singh's daughter-in-law insulted him by having an affair. Defense attorney David Torres is asking the jury to find his client guilty of voluntary manslaughter, arguing the shooting was not premeditated and rather occurred in the heat of the moment.
Your time now is 5:05, and today we're learning more about House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's surprise visit to Ukraine.
The trip comes as Russia ramps up its attacks, even targeting an area housing arms and ammunition sent by the United States. NBC's Bree Jackson is in Washington with the latest.
Good morning, Alex, Maddie. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is now the highest-ranking U.S. official to visit the Ukrainian capital since the war started. She says she wanted to show America's unflinching support for Ukraine. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and a U.S. delegation walking in the streets of Kyiv with President Zelenskyy. Their visit under wraps for security reasons.
We believe that we are visiting you to say thank you for your fight for freedom.
Zelenskyy expressing gratitude for the support.
Thank you very much for this support. It's very important, and I think you have to know that we'll win.
Attacks against Ukraine are intensifying. The Russian Defense Ministry says it struck 800 targets in 24 hours over the weekend, including a hangar with weapons supplied by the West.
We need all the assistance we can get in defensive weapons, in military support, in financial support, but also in humanitarian support.
President Biden wants Congress to approve an additional $33 billion for 5 months of aid for Ukraine. Republicans and Democrats signaling they'll back it.
Every day we don't send them more weapons is a day where more people will be killed and a day where they could lose this war.
The Senate Majority Leader is also pushing to seize assets of Russian oligarchs and use the proceeds to help Ukrainians.
It's time for sanctioned Russian oligarchs to be held accountable for the ill-gotten wealth that they have received.
Situation in Ukraine, how to help them, what kind of support they need.
Speaker Pelosi meeting with Poland's president this morning, thanking him for supporting Ukraine through humanitarian efforts. Poland has the largest influx of Ukrainian refugees. Officials say their humanitarian operation in Mariupol continues today. So far, more than 100 civilians have been evacuated from the besieged steel plant. In Washington, I'm Bree Jackson for 17 News.
Making news also around the world, thousands of people took to the streets across the world yesterday on May Day, demanding better working conditions and pay. The rallies included people from all walks of life coming together for change. In most places, the May Day marches were the first in 2 years due to the pandemic. This year, many of the rallies included desperate calls for world peace, with protesters demanding an end to the war in Ukraine.
Here at home, and paying tribute to a local hero, the Kern County Sheriff's Office Honor Guard will travel to the nation's capital next week to honor fallen Deputy Philip Campus. Campus was killed in the line of duty last summer, saving a family being held hostage by gunmen in Wasco. Deputies will land in Washington, D.C. on May 12th to escort Campus's family during a candlelight vigil.
When we go there, other agencies know exactly who we are. They know who Deputy Phil Campus was. To go there, yes, it is a great honor, but we're there actually to support the family, his parents, his wife, his children.
Campus will be honored at more law enforcement ceremonies this month, including two here in Kern County. You can find more information on our website, kget.com. Now to a signature issue here on 17 News, pedestrian safety. And CHP says a woman is dead after a car crash in southwest Bakersfield Friday night. Officers were called to Taft Highway near Michelle Street just before 11 p.m. for reports of the accident. When officers arrived, they say they found the woman in the road. She died at the scene. CHP says the woman driving the car cooperated with investigators, while drugs and alcohol do not appear to be factors in the crash. Authorities say the woman killed was not using a crosswalk when she was hit.
Cleanup continues in Kansas after a massive tornado ripped through the city of Andover Friday. Winds were so strong that several SUVs were actually tossed into buildings. Officials say hundreds of homes and other buildings were destroyed and more than 15,000 people are without power. The scope of the damage isn't fully known yet, as the long recovery process is just beginning.
3 meteorology students were killed Friday night in Oklahoma while they were storm chasing. The students were at the University of Oklahoma's School of Meteorology. At some point, the SUV they were in hydroplaned and became disabled before being hit by a semi-truck.
They were a huge part of my life. I spent the majority of my time here with them. Every single day I would see them, whether that be in class or hanging out at their apartment, or they're the people who I spent my time with, and now they're gone.
One of the students was a part of OU Nightly, a newscast produced by students at the University of Oklahoma. Meantime, the driver of the semi-truck was treated and released from a hospital.
Your time now is 5:34, and now to news of coronavirus. The FDA has set dates in June to review vaccines for kids under 5. It will begin reviewing Moderna and Pfizer vaccines. As of now, only kids 5 and up can get the Pfizer vaccine. There will be more public meetings in the coming weeks.
Amazon has announced it will be ending paid leave of absence for employees with COVID-19 starting today. The company says those waiting for test results will not be paid since tests and vaccines are more accessible and guidelines have changed. The business says it will give 5 days of unpaid leave. This comes as Amazon workers are asking for better working conditions and pressing for unionization.
As many health experts warned, COVID cases have surged in Riverside County following the Coachella Music Festival. Daily COVID numbers spiked by 75% 2 weeks after the festival attracted tens of thousands of music fans. But health officials say real numbers are probably higher. The majority of the cases in the Riverside area are reportedly of the Omicron variant.
And Current Public Health on Friday announced 150 new positive cases and 3 new deaths. State data shows 20 people are in the hospital in Kern County with the virus. That is 5 more than our last report last week on Tuesday. And 4 patients are in the ICU. To date, more than 2,300 lives have been lost in Kern County due to COVID-19.
Making news around the state's high-speed rail project is moving forward. The project's moving forward with the San Jose to Merced station. The approval by the State High-Speed Rail Authority Board of Directors was cheered by Gilroy officials who envisioned building a transit hub around the rail stop. People in Gilroy are calling it a victory, hoping it can link the small city to the Bay, Southern California, and of course the Central Valley.
Firefighters continue to work to contain a wildfire burning in the San Bernardino Mountains near Big Bear. It started Saturday afternoon along Smart's Ranch in the Cactus Flats area. By 10 o'clock Saturday night, flames spread to 35 acres. As of this morning, the fire is 90% contained and holding at 35 acres. No structures were threatened and no evacuation orders were needed. The cause is still under investigation.
The National Weather Service is showing just how dry the month of April was for the West Coast. They posted this map to Twitter yesterday. The red shows many parts of Southern California and Nevada were 50% or less of normal for April, while parts of Northern California and the Sierras were well above normal last month.
Making news around town and over the weekend, the National Street Rod Association brought back the largest automotive event in Kern County. The 45th annual Western Street Rod Nationals cruised to the Fairgrounds. 17's Marco Torres has the story.
It's the 45th annual Western Street Rod Nationals, a gigantic showcase for classic cars right here at the Kern County Fairgrounds.
It's cars, cars, and more cars. A perfect event for any car enthusiast.
The years are open. It's not just a specific year. It's open to hot rods, muscle cars, your rat rods, lowriders, everything. And everybody's really friendly. I like that.
Visitors checked out custom rides from across the western U.S. throughout the weekend. Muscle cars, street rods, and old-time classics all on display and cruising throughout the venue.
If you want to cruise, you can cruise around the fairgrounds, walk around, look at the cars, but my favorite is the cruising. Or just watching, just everybody just ride around and have fun and enjoy themselves.
Some people have been coming to the event for decades. They say the event only continues to get better while more and more kind people continue to join in on the fun.
Man, this is the place right here. When we leave, we're ready to come back next year. We're raring to go again already.
Many car enthusiasts are already starting to make plans for next year's event. From the Kern County Fairgrounds, Marco Torres, 17 News.
It was a day dedicated to beautifying Bakersfield. The organization Keep Bakersfield Beautiful worked with thousands of volunteers Saturday to clean up our city. Volunteers worked to clean up hotspot areas across town. These volunteers weren't just kids, but also adults, parents, and community leaders, all working to make our city beautiful.
We came over here to the event to play with the kids stuff and set it up. We also picked up some trash in the area so that obviously when you have people coming in here, we want to make sure that we have everything cleaned up so they can show exactly what it's about.
After the morning work, volunteers went out to Yokuts Park to celebrate. Pork Chop and Bubba's Barbecue catered lunch, awards were handed out, and families enjoyed the rest of the day together.
The JJ's Legacy Gala returned Saturday night at the Seven Oaks Country Club in Southwest Bakersfield. It is the nonprofit's biggest and most popular fundraiser of the year, bringing awareness and education about the importance of organ, eye, and tissue donation. It was a sold-out crowd with a live and silent auction, after party, dancing, and more.
Well, JJ's Legacy, we're a nonprofit here in Kern County supporting organ, eye, and tissue donation as far as being a registered donor. We support our recipients that have had a life-saving transplant with grants and food and gas cards, and so we try to take care of that whole community of Donate Life.
You can learn more about JJ's Legacy by visiting their website.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.